Welcome back to another episode of Magic's in the Mess, the go-to podcast for ambitious women ready to stop pretending, start aligning, and finally build success your way. I'm your host, Danielle McKinley, speaker, business and wealth strategist, and your go-to problem-solving hype girl. Here, we'll help you unlock powerful mindset shifts, discover your magic, and bring your dream life into reality. Each week, I'll deliver raw stories, proven business strategies, and powerful transformations with industry leaders to activate the magic in you. So if you're ready to ditch the pressure, the performative BS, and the noise telling you who you should be, hit subscribe and let's make some magic. Welcome back to Magic's in the Mess. Today, I want to talk about something that sounds simple on the surface, but has the power to completely change how you move through your business and your life. And that, my friends, is the power of the ask. The power of simply asking the question, asking for what you want. Because most of the time, when we hear the word no, what we're actually hearing is not right now, not like this, or simply you're hearing no in your head because you're not willing to ask. And this episode was inspired by a real moment that happened to me recently while I was traveling for a conference. And it was a locked door, a supposed no, and a decision that I made to ask anyway. And what unfolded reminded me how often we stop ourselves before life actually tells us no. It's like the inner voice inside says no before it's really a no in real life, or we hear the word no and that triggers this sort of shutdown and hiding. So here's what happened. I was traveling to a trade show for my payments company and we were in execution mode. My girlfriend and I were like, let's get this done. Let's get to dinner. We don't want to worry about a tight schedule tomorrow. We want to have a super organized day and trying to like really knock out everything so that the rest of the trip flowed really smoothly. And one of the last things on the list was picking up the swag hats that we made that were shipped to FedEx at the hotel. And this hotel is huge. It's a Gaylord in Nashville. And we were told very clearly, very confidently, this girl was looking out for us. She was like, hey, are you ladies going to FedEx? And we, of course, said yes. And she goes, oh, I'm going to save you the long walk. If you've ever been to a Gaylord hotel, you know that they are huge. And she's like, we're closed. We closed at 5. It was like 5:11, I think, at the time. And my girlfriend and I go, you know what? Let's just go over there and see if we can get a miracle to happen. And basically, that's what happened. We walked over and we come across this door that is that's locked. Like there's a lockbox on it and everything. And we twist the knob is locked, but there's a skinny slit in the door. And through the door, we can see that someone's there. So we speak through the crack and simply say like, hi, do you want to make our night tonight? Are you available to help make this happen for us? And lo and behold, this guy comes out, sweet, sweet Mark, and he opens the door. He's a little bit frustrated because he's had a long day, but he is more than willing to help. And so he asks for our name and what we're picking up. And he's like, look, your hats are on the dock or whatever that's like not actually inside the FedEx. And he was still willing. He took the number and was still willing to go get the hats for us. So shout out to Mark at Gaylord in FedEx in Nashville. You are incredible and you totally made our night. So what happened, friends? Problem solved, right? Not because we pushed, not because we argued, not because we demanded, because we were kind and we asked. And there's so much power in that because what really I've been thinking about so much since then is that nothing about the situation changed between getting told no and getting a yes. It was the same building, the same policies, the same day, the same people. The only thing that changed was the decision to make the ask. And this is where most people stop themselves. They hear no and they assume like it's final, it's personal, it's a reflection of their worth, it's what the sign on the door says. And it means that, maybe you did something wrong or it wasn't the right timing. And here's the truth. Most no's are not rejections. They're just the end of the first conversation. And I am a huge believer in asking for what you want. And if you see something or you feel like the timing's right, then going for it. Because we treat no like a closed door when it's often just a pause. And in business, this looks a lot like not following up because they didn't respond to you, right? They didn't respond to your first email and you're like, oh, they ghosted us. That's it. Or not pitching yourself because they already have somebody in your quote unquote category. Or not raising your prices because you're afraid people won't pay. Like that's part money energetics and that's part thinking that you know the answers, but you're not leveraging the power of the ask. Or it might sound like launching because, you decide not to launch rather, not launching because you think that the market is saturated in what you provide. But hi friends, you're magic makers and you bring a unique energy that only you can put out into this world. And so even if you're doing something that's in the same vertical or that's similar to somebody else, nobody can bring your unique energy to it. Okay? So in life, it also looks like not asking for help, not sharing how you really feel, or not going after the opportunity because you assume that you know the outcome. Assumptions are vibe killers. Assumptions are the thief of joy. Okay. And here is the hard truth: if you never ask, the answer's already no. So what's the harm in asking? Not asking means you didn't get rejected. It means you opted out. You opted out of the possibility to get to a yes. So you have to train yourself to ask anyway. Ask when it's uncomfortable. Ask when you think or are assuming, especially when you think or are assuming that the answer is already no. Okay, so let me be really clear. This is not about ignoring boundaries. This is not about pushing when someone has given you like a clear, firm, actual no. And it's not about entitlement. It's about curiosity instead of assumption. Being curious about what could change in the outcome if you were to actually make the ask. And it's about asking yourself, is this truly a no? Or is this just the first answer? Right? Or have I actually asked the question that I wanted to get an answer to? Because sometimes the no isn't about you at all. Sometimes it's about the timing or it's about the process, and sometimes it's about the way that the question was framed. Like how did you ask the question, right? And sometimes it's just habit. It's just habit to assume the no. So this is the part where I really want you to sit with this, and I want you to ask yourself, where in your life or your business are you rejecting yourself before anyone else ever does? Where in your life or business are you rejecting yourself before anyone else ever does? Really think about that. And I want you to think about, where are you deciding the outcome before the conversation even begins? And where are you choosing comfort over curiosity? Because often we tell ourselves we're being realistic when in reality, we're just being protective. We're just protecting ourselves, and often we're protecting our ego. And look, I get it. Rejection, it stings. Nobody likes rejection, but you almost build up this muscle to realizing that rejection doesn't kill you. Rejection's not the end of the world. And quite frankly, rejection is part of the human experience and the journey. And disappointment, it can feel personal, but we don't have to make it personal. We're choosing to make it personal. But if we completely avoid the ask, avoiding the ask, it doesn't protect you from discomfort. It just guarantees stagnation. It guarantees that the outcome's not going to change. You're deciding that you're accepting the no. Okay? And that here's another thing that people I think get wrong. You don't need confidence to ask. We assume that we do. And you don't need certainty. You don't need to know the outcome. And really all you need is you need willingness. You need to be willing to hear the answer, willing to stay grounded if the answer isn't what you had hoped for, and a willingness to truly trust yourself either way, not being attached to the outcome. Because sometimes the bravest thing that you can do isn't pushing harder. It's asking the question you're afraid of hearing the answer to. And the more that you show up and the more that you practice that, the faster you build that muscle of protecting yourself and realizing that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be okay even if I make that ask. So I want to leave you with a few questions that you can use as, say, a journal prompt or just to think about as you move through this week. So here they are. Where am I accepting no without questioning it? What's one thing I've wanted to ask for but haven't? And if no didn't mean rejection, what would I try next? What would you try next? Because you don't have to act on all of them. just start to notice what comes up or even pick the one that resonated the most with you and really sit with that one the rest of the week because that day at FedEx could have ended up with frustration, delays, annoyance, the plan not going the way that we anticipated or that we expected it to inside of our head, but instead it ended with a reminder that I keep coming back to. You don't need more confidence. You don't need more certainty. You just have to be willing to ask. Because again, no is really about you. And most of the time, no is not forever. It's just not right now. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and for staying open to the moments where magic shows up in the very unexpected ways. And if this episode resonated with you, please like, share, comment, write a review. It goes so much further than you can even imagine. And I just so appreciate you tuning in to another episode of Magic's in the Mess. Have the best week, and I look forward to connecting with you next Tuesday.